What moment from your life is so embarrassing you'll never live it down? When I was 8, my dad had this rule that we couldn't eat dinner until everyone was sitting at the table. Not just physically there, but sitting with perfect posture, hands folded, looking straight ahead. I thought every family did this. My dad would walk around the table before we started eating, checking our posture like a drill sergeant. If your back wasn't straight enough, he'd tap your shoulder twice. If your hands weren't folded properly, he'd clear his throat and point. We'd sit there for 5, sometimes 10 minutes while he inspected us. I remember my friend Austin came over for dinner once. Dad made him sit through the whole inspection too. Austin kept looking at me like, what the hell is happening? But I just smiled proudly, thinking my dad was teaching us good manners. After dinner, Austin whispered, "Your dad is really serious about sitting up straight." I bragged about how my dad was making us into proper gentlemen. The worst part was the photos. Every single meal, Dad would take a picture of us sitting at the table before we could eat. He had this old digital camera that made a loud clicking sound. He'd say, "Hold that position, boys. This is how a family should look." My brother Jake and I would freeze like mannequins while he snapped away. Our dining room wall was covered with hundreds of these photos. All the same pose, same serious expressions, same perfectly straight backs. When relatives visited, Dad would give them a tour of his family dinner gallery. He'd point out how our posture improved over the months, like we were science experiments. At school, when teachers asked what we did for fun at home, I'd tell them about our special dinner time. I'd demonstrate the proper sitting position in my chair. My 3rd grade teacher, Mrs. Rodriguez, looked confused when I explained how we had to pass inspection before eating. She asked if my dad was in the military. I said no, he just really cared about good manners. The truth hit me during a sleepover at my friend Cameron's house when I was 12. His family just sat down and started eating immediately. No inspection, no photos, no waiting. Cameron's little sister was slouching, and nobody cared. His mom was reading something on her phone while eating. I sat up perfectly straight out of habit, hands folded, waiting for someone to take our picture. Cameron looked at me and laughed. "Dude, why are you sitting like that? You look like you're about to get arrested." When I explained about dinner inspections and photo sessions, the whole family went quiet. Cameron's dad asked gently, "Your father takes pictures of you eating dinner every night?" I nodded, still not understanding why everyone seemed so uncomfortable. Cameron's mom exchanged a look with his dad that I didn't recognize then but understand now. That night, I couldn't sleep thinking about how different dinner felt at Cameron's house. It was relaxed, normal, almost boring compared to our military-style meal procedures. For the first time, I wondered if maybe our dinner routine wasn't about good manners at all. When I got home the next day, I sat through our usual inspection and photo session, but everything felt different. I started noticing how tense Jake looked during these moments, how his hands would shake slightly when Dad approached with the camera. I realized my brother had been just as confused as me, but we'd never talked about it. Years later in high school psychology class, we learned about control and family dynamics. The teacher described how some parents use rigid rules to maintain power over situations they feel they can't control in other areas of their lives. She mentioned photographing family members as a form of documentation and surveillance. That's when I finally understood that our dinner inspections weren't about teaching manners. They were about Dad needing to control something, anything, in a house where everything else felt chaotic to him. The photos weren't memories. They were evidence that he could make us comply with his version of the perfect family.